Hi, this is Superintendent of Schools Bill Olson with another school department update. It's now early December and we are in receipt of the PARCC and MCAS scores from the tests that our students took last spring. I'm pleased to say on the PARCC exam in grades 3 through 8, our students either met expectations or exceeded expectations, the two highest standards on the PARCC exam. In fact, we were among the top school systems in the state in terms of scores across all tests and all grade levels. As you know, the PARCC has been somewhat of a controversial assessment instrument, and the Board of Education has recently directed the Commissioner of Education, Commissioner Chester, to develop a new assessment instrument that will be implemented in 2017. There will be somewhat of a hybrid of the PARCC and the MCAS that has been used for many years in the Commonwealth. I'm going to give you some information here that I do with great pride, because we have reviewed the scores of our students in relation to some very, very high quality communities in the state. We have compared the scores of Westford students in all grade levels in which the PARCC and MCAS were administered to the student scores in Andover, Bedford, Belmont, Carlisle, Concord, Newton, Sudbury, and Weston. The colors represent the fact that our students scored either first, second, or third in comparison to the students in these high-power communities. There was no other community, and they're all quality school systems. There was no other community in which the students scored either first, second, or third across the board like Westford. There was only one grade level and one content area that we were slightly below the top scores. So we're very, very proud of our students, and we look forward to continued excellent results in the future. And I really believe that we are one of the top 2 or 3 school systems in the entire state of Massachusetts, and I want to thank you for your continued support. Recently, we've been working on the final phase of the educator evaluation model. The Department of Education 3 years ago implemented this evaluation process and model. In my opinion, it's one of the most significant improvements to public education since the passage of the Education Reform Bill in 1993. This final phase involves the evaluation of teachers by students and the evaluation of administrators by staff. I've been working with a subcommittee to carefully develop questions in accordance with Department of Education guidance and criteria, so that this spring we will be implementing the student surveys, and the teachers will take those at the end of the year and use them in their self-reflection and goal-setting process for the following school year, in collaboration with their evaluator for next year. Additionally, our staff will be administered staff surveys where they will be evaluating their assistant principal and principal in their building, and we are also going to ask them to evaluate the assistant superintendent, Dr. Cleary, and myself, because it's extraordinarily important that we hear from the people in this organization in terms of what seems to be working well, what needs improvement, and some suggestions for improvement, because we can always improve. Recently, the U.S. Congress passed and the President has signed the Every Student Succeeds Act. Now, this is a reauthorization of a bill that goes all the way back to the 1960s during the Lyndon Johnson administration and the Great Society legislation that initiated began as the Elementary Secondary Education Act of 1965. Then it was reauthorized a number of years ago into No Child Left Behind, and now into the new law of Every Student Succeeds Act. One of the benefits that we see coming from the newly reauthorized bill is that local school systems and states will be given more control and released somewhat from the oversight of the federal government, which I think is a good thing, because when the more diluted the process of planning education becomes, and by that I mean moving more and more from the local level to the federal level, I think the more diluted the quality of education becomes. So we're glad to see a newly passed and newly reauthorized piece of legislation. We're also working with a food allergy committee. We've had a couple of meetings so far. Our goal with the food allergy committee is to develop some guidelines, some revised and new guidelines to ensure the safety of our students and our staff when it comes to food products, not only during the school day, but in after-school programs that are run in our school systems, and also evening events where food is brought into school settings. So we want to make sure that we put as much specificity into good food allergy practices to keep our students and staff safe. We're also working on space utilization analysis. We have a subcommittee that has been developed at the request of the school committee last year that continues to study enrollments in each building, enrollment trends, past, current, and future, and look at those enrollments in relation to our facilities' capabilities. Because we know that if there is a sustained period of declining enrollment, that at some point in time we will be able to close certainly an elementary school. We don't know precisely when that time is right now, but we're going to indicate to the school committee sometime before the end of this year what are the various criteria and trigger points that we have to keep an eye on that will indicate to us when it is time to possibly consider closing a school. Now, that is with the old economics axiom of all of the things being equal, assuming that there is somewhat of a stable residential development practice in town and not another boom of building, which we assume might not be, but one never knows. And so we'll keep a careful eye on that. Recently, I provided the fiscal 2017 budget to the Westford School Committee. It has asked for, and I have asked for, 2.74% increase in the budget over the prior fiscal year, over fiscal 16. The town is looking for us to come in at 2.5%. So over the next few months, we'll be talking with the school committee, with the finance committee, with the selectmen and the town administration about the needs of our students, why we requested the 2.74%, and can we in fact meet the 2.5% parameter that the town manager has asked us to meet. We're fortunate in Westford in that we have a very collaborative relationship, very strong working relationship between the school administration and the town administration and all boards and committees. It pays dividends for you, it pays dividends for the students, because the focus remains on those issues that are important. Always glad to speak with you. This is Bill Olson, the Superintendent of Schools, and I look forward to seeing you next time.